Hey gang, so in this video we're going to look at the steps to perform a t-test, a two-sample t-test. So we're going to run through establishing the hypotheses, calculating the test statistic, and a p-value, and then stating a conclusion. And that conclusion is in regard to the hypothesis. And it is the test statistic and p-value that is the mathematical steps. Okay, so in the previous video we talked about how this is a formalized procedure to compare two population means. In this comparison, we establish a hypothesis. There are actually two hypotheses here. One of them is called the alternative hypothesis, and the other is called the null hypothesis. Sometimes the alternative hypothesis is called the research hypothesis because it's usually the statement that is of interest, not necessarily what you're trying to prove, but a property that is being explored. And this states that two population means are different. This is sometimes denoted, or often denoted, HA. The null hypothesis is used to contrast the alternative. So this null hypothesis asserts that, well, if the alternative says that these two means are different, the null asserts that they are the same. In a way, this is like a default position. Right? In order to make some comparison to analyze if two population means are different, we need some sort of baseline, and that baseline is that they are the same. We refer to these hypotheses a lot. That's why we have abbreviations for them. The null hypothesis is often denoted HO. These hypotheses are stated together, and as an example of that, in orange over here, this is usually written in an abbreviated format. So HO colon mean 1 equals mean 2, that's the baseline, and the alternative mean 1 is not equal to mean 2. If we look over at the textbook, they show this notation a little bit more crisp, but they also show a particular example. And in this example, they are looking at neurological symptoms as a result of substance abuse, and they had a subject of rats in which they looked at chemical compositions, norepinephrine in the brain, etc. They want to know if the observed difference in norepinephrine is substantially higher in the substance-exposed rats than in the control rats, or if the substance has no effect and any observed difference was just due to chance. So scrolling down here, they state their hypotheses in a more written format and not with symbols, and they kind of explain a little bit here about that. But this is essentially the essence of a t-test, in which they want to know if the mean norepinephrine concentration is the same, essentially, in the two groups, the treatment group and the control group, or if there is a difference. And in this case, they're also talking about cause and effect, which is as we know, requires certain scenarios and conditions be met. Next up is looking at what's called the test statistic to establish whether our sample data provides support for the alternative hypothesis. That is in the next video. See you there.